All right, get ready for a story that still makes my blood boil when I think about it. I'm an older woman, a widow, and I thought I had a good relationship with my son, Mark, and his wife, Sarah. We've always been close, or so I thought. But a few months ago, something happened that absolutely shattered my perception of my daughter-in-law, and honestly, it still stings. Was I wrong for putting my foot down, for protecting myself and my late husband's legacy? Or was I just a mean old hag, as Sarah so eloquently put it? Tell me, seriously, tell me if you would have done the same thing, because I've replayed this in my head 1,000 times, and I still think I was justified. Let's go back a bit, to before all this started. My husband, bless his soul, passed away 5 years ago. It was sudden, and it left a huge hole in my life. He was a wonderful man, a good provider, and he made sure I was financially secure after he was gone. He left me a comfortable amount, enough to live on without working, and he also had a significant life insurance policy. We had always been careful with our money, saved diligently, and never lived extravagantly. Mark and Sarah got married about 10 years ago. Sarah came from a family that, let's just say, didn't have the same financial discipline as ours. Her parents struggled, and she often talked about wanting a better life for herself, one free from financial worry. I never judged her for that. Who wouldn't want a good life? When they first got married, Mark and Sarah were renting a small apartment. They both had decent jobs, but they weren't making a fortune. I tried to help them where I could, offering advice, occasionally treating them to dinner, or buying things for their apartment. I loved them both, and I wanted to see them happy. A couple of years into their marriage, Sarah started to hint, then outright ask, if she could borrow money from me. It started small, a few $100s for a car repair, $1,000 for an unexpected medical bill. I always gave it to her, no questions asked, because they were my son and daughter-in-law, and I wanted to support them. I never expected it back, though sometimes they would promise to repay me. Those promises rarely materialized, but I didn't mind too much. It was my money, and if it helped them, I was happy. Then they decided they wanted to buy a house. This was a much bigger ask. They found a lovely place, but they needed a substantial down payment that they just didn't have. Mark approached me, looking a bit sheepish, and asked if I could help. My heart ached for them. I wanted them to have their dream home. I ended up giving them a significant amount, enough for a solid down payment, which made a huge difference in their mortgage. Again, I told them not to worry about paying me back. It was a gift. After they moved into their new house, things changed subtly. Sarah started to become more comfortable asking for money. It wasn't just emergencies anymore. It was for new furniture, for a landscaping project, for a vacation they wanted to take. She'd call me, tell me about something they really needed, or deserved, and then gently remind me how much I loved them and how much I enjoyed seeing them happy. I felt a bit taken advantage of, but I always justified it by telling myself I had enough, and they were my family. I figured they'd eventually get on their feet and stop relying on me so much. I was wrong. The requests escalated. Soon, Sarah had taken to using my credit card directly for certain purchases. It started with small things, groceries, a new outfit here and there. I had given her my card number once for an online purchase when I was having trouble with my own computer, and she'd saved it. I didn't think much of it at the time. I trusted her. She'd always call me first, or so I thought, and tell me what she was buying, and I'd usually say yes. It became a routine. She'd say, "Mom, I need to get new shoes for the kids. Can I use your card?" Or, "There's a sale on appliances. Can I grab that new dishwasher with your card?" And I'd always agree. Then, The requests started coming in for things that felt less like necessities and more like luxuries. Expensive clothes for herself, designer handbags, lavish dinners out with friends, spa days. The amounts on my credit card statements began to skyrocket. I found myself looking at my bank account, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a knot of anxiety in my stomach. My husband had left me comfortable, but not limitless. I had investments, but I was also retired, and my income was fixed. This level of spending was unsustainable. I tried to talk to Mark about it, gently at first. I told him I was worried about the credit card bills, and that perhaps Sarah needed to be a bit more mindful of her spending. Mark was always very non-confrontational. He'd say, "Oh, Mom, don't worry, we'll pay you back." Or Sarah just needs a little treat now and then, she works hard. He never actually did anything to curb her behavior. I think he was afraid of her, honestly. Sarah had a way of making you feel guilty if you ever questioned her. One day, I received a particularly shocking credit card statement. It was over $5,000 for that month alone. I scanned through the itemized list, and my jaw dropped. There were several purchases I hadn't been informed about, including a weekend getaway to a luxury resort for Sarah and her friends, an expensive piece of jewelry, and a deposit for a new, much pricier car than they currently drove. I felt sick to my stomach. This wasn't just borrowing anymore. This was outright taking advantage. I called Sarah, my voice trembling. "Sarah," I said, trying to keep my tone calm, "I just got my credit card statement, and I noticed some very large purchases that I wasn't aware of." She immediately became defensive. "Oh, Mom, don't be dramatic. It was just a few things. You have plenty of money. You always say you want us to be happy." I tried to explain that while I wanted them to be happy, my money wasn't an endless supply, and I needed to be able to live comfortably myself. She brushed me off, saying, "It's fine, Mom. I'll pay you back, eventually," but eventually never came. It dawned on me then, with a crushing weight, that she had no intention of ever paying me back for any of it. She saw my money as her money, an entitlement. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. I was watching my savings dwindle because of her unchecked spending, and my son, bless him, was useless in stopping her. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have let it continue? Would you have confronted her more harshly? Or would you have taken a different path? Seriously, tell me, because I was desperate. I knew I couldn't let this continue. I was a widow, and my financial security was paramount. My husband had worked his entire life to ensure I was taken care of, and I couldn't let it all be drained away by someone who clearly had no respect for it. I thought long and hard about what to do. I didn't want to cause a huge rift in the family, but I also couldn't allow myself to be a walking ATM. I decided to take a drastic step. The credit card she was using was one that I primarily used for online purchases and automatic bill payments. It wasn't my main everyday card, but it was linked to my main bank account. I called the credit card company and told them I wanted to change my password and issue a new card with a new number. I didn't explicitly say why. I just said I'd noticed some suspicious activity and wanted to be safe. They were very understanding and processed the request immediately. The new card and number arrived a few days later, and I made sure to update all my legitimate automatic payments. I didn't tell Sarah or even Mark what I had done. I just waited. It didn't take long. About a week later, my phone rang. It was Sarah, and she sounded absolutely furious. "Mom, what did you do to your card?" she demanded, without even a hello. I feigned ignorance. "What are you talking about, dear?" I asked, trying to sound as innocent as possible. "I'm trying to buy that new living room set we talked about, and your card isn't working. It says the password is wrong, and then it says the card number is invalid. What did you do? Your mom changed the password. I can't use her card anymore." She practically shrieked into the phone. The sheer entitlement in her voice made my blood run cold. She didn't even acknowledge that it was my card, my money. It was just your mom's card. As if it were a communal resource she had a right to. I took a deep breath. This was it. "Oh, that," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Yes, I changed the password and got a new card number. I noticed some unauthorized transactions on my last statement, and I thought it was best to secure my account. You know, with all the online scams these days, one can't be too careful." There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line. I could almost hear her brain whirring, trying to figure out if I was truly naive or if I was sending a message. Then she exploded. "Unauthorized transactions. Mom, that was me. You knew about those. You gave me permission." I calmly replied, "No, Sarah, I didn't give you permission for everything. There were several large purchases I was not aware of, and I simply can't afford to keep subsidizing a lifestyle that's beyond my means. My husband worked hard for this money, and I need to protect it for my own future." The phone call descended into a shouting match. Sarah accused me of being selfish, of being a mean old hag, of not caring about my son and her happiness. She said I was trying to ruin their lives, that I was jealous of their success. What success, I wondered, built on my dwindling savings? And that I was punishing them for wanting nice things. She even brought up the down payment I'd given them, implying that I was now going back on my generosity. I just listened, letting her vent, my resolve hardening with every hurtful word. When she finally paused for breath, I said, "Sarah, I love you and Mark, but I can no longer afford to support your spending habits. My financial situation isn't endless. I will always be here for genuine emergencies, but I cannot be your unlimited source of funds for luxuries. This card is now exclusively for my use." She hung up on me. Immediately after, Mark called. He sounded exasperated. "Mom, what did you do? Sarah is absolutely hysterical. She said you changed your card and won't let her use it anymore. Why would you do that?" I explained everything to him, calmly and rationally, detailing the escalating spending, the unauthorized purchases, and my anxiety about my own financial future. I told him I loved him, but I wasn't going to sacrifice my security for Sarah's insatiable desire for designer goods and luxury trips. Mark, predictably, tried to mediate. He said, "Can't you just give her the new card number? We'll be more careful, I promise." I told him no. My decision was final. I wasn't going to be taken for a fool anymore. The aftermath has been frosty. Sarah refused to speak to me for weeks. Mark would occasionally call, mostly to deliver messages from Sarah about how hurt she was. I stood my ground. Eventually, contact slowly resumed, but it's not the same. Sarah is much colder, and her calls are mostly superficial. She doesn't ask for money anymore, which is a relief, but the warmth and perceived closeness are gone. I see them less often. It hurts deeply. It's a painful realization that my daughter-in-law valued my money more than our relationship. But at the same time, I feel a sense of peace. My bank account is recovering, and I no longer dread opening my credit card statements. I secured my future, just as my late husband wanted me to. It came at a cost, a significant one, in terms of family harmony, but I truly believe it was necessary. So, that's my story. It's been a rough few months, and honestly, I still struggle with the emotional fallout. It's hard when you realize someone you cared about so much was essentially using you. I made a difficult decision to protect myself, and I don't regret it, but the hurt lingers. Like this video if you were on my side and think I did the right thing. Subscribe for more stories like this, and please, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. What would you have done? Was I too harsh, or was I simply protecting what was mine? I'll see you all in the next story. Polish language ma convert kr